Many people are saying that a new civil rights movement was born during the crescendo moment of the non-indictment of the police officer who killed Eric Garner, and they're right. But sadly, the debate around this issue is being dominated by complete and utter idiots, like the slick-haired FBI snitch, race-baiting turtle-head Al Sharpton, and of course, the warmongering, fake-toothed, racist, police state enthusiast demon, Rudolph Giuliani. It seems like in the mainstream media, these two idiots are getting the most amount of play, the most amount of attention with this very serious issue. And of course, they muddy the issue. So when Rudolph Giuliani says something really stupid, the people on the left have to respond and not deal with the issue. The same thing when Al Sharpton opens his mouth, he says something stupid, the people on the right respond, and of course they don't deal with the real issues. They're making it a black and white issue. It's not. It's not a black and white issue. It's not just predominantly a race issue. It has come to the point where the families of the victims of this police state that we're living under are coming out and saying themselves, like Eric Garner's wife, who said her husband was targeted for selling illegal cigarettes, not his race. Eric Garner's daughter came out and said this is not a black and white issue. Even the family of Akai Gurley, the young man who was murdered by the NYPD, who did not have a weapon on him, just recently, his mother and his aunt actually banned Al Sharpton from the funeral and said he has no right to speak from the family. Now, of course, we know race is an issue in this country. It's something very important. But there's other issues that are not being touched at all. And first of all, why is Rudolph Giuliani, the man who created the police state in New York City, even have a voice in this matter? If you know Rudolph Giuliani, if you lived in New York City when Giuliani was mayor, you could see the police state that he has set up with his broken windows theory. I mean, just even the murder of Amner Louima, Abdul Diallo, Patrick Dorsman, and other people who were murdered here, who were innocent people that he protected. The amount of civil rights violations that happened in New York City under Rudolph Giuliani, he cost the city millions of dollars in lawsuits against people's civil rights here. And yet he's getting play and attention? I'm not even going to get started on Al Sharpton. But anyway, you see this divide and conquer. You see this muddying of the issues. You see these heretics getting more attention than anybody else, muddying the waters. You see the families come out and say, wait, hold on, let's actually talk about this issue. Now again, I just want to reiterate, race is an issue. African American communities are dealing with the brunt of the police state, and so is everybody else. But the police state and the war against the people, I think, is a very important factor that's not being covered by the mainstream media outlets. You see some talk about it in the alternative media, if people don't take a black and white side. Now, I could take either side. I could take the right side of this movement. I could talk to the left side in this movement. I could probably get a bigger audience by just picking one side and sticking to it and guarding that issue. But I won't, because this issue is not black and white. It's gray. It's a very confusing issue with many different aspects to it that is very hard to grasp in one single talking point, and it's virtually impossible to get into without being biased in one shape or another. But one thing that is clear to me personally is the war against the people that's being waged because of this movement. In Chicago, during the Eric Garner protests, the Chicago Police Department were using the Stingray cell phone interceptors. They are spying on protesters at this rally. They're using this vehicle, which of course many police departments have because of the federal programs and Pentagon programs that are giving to them, and the new authorities that are giving to them under Barack Obama's NSA program. They're driving around vehicles like this and intercepting protests communications. This is leaked audio from a police scanner, and look what they were talking about.
One of the girls is kind of wrong answer here. She's been on her phone a lot. You guys picking up any information where they're going possibly? Yeah, we're keeping an eye on it. We'll let you know if we hear anything.
Again, those are police officers talking with the Fusion Center about the organizer on her cell phone, and the police officers are demanding to know where she is going to be. And of course, we see this vehicle that everyone's posting pictures about with this huge antenna on top that intercepts cell phone communications, illegally violating the Fourth Amendment. This is happening while these idiots get the main attention. Another thing that's happening here in New York City, and also there's a lawsuit against the Chicago Police Department now because of these phone intercepts. That's one positive story out here. Of course, it's covered by the local media. But another thing that has been happening here is that the New York City Police Department during these protests are using military-grade sonic weapons, LRADs. They were used against me in Pittsburgh during the G20 protests, and they are a serious weapon to be dealt with. It is a weapon that was first used in Iraq against so-called insurgents. It's a weapon that has been used by the U.S. military in the war of terror in foreign combat zones, and now they're using it here in New York City. We actually got pictures of the LRAD during my coverage of the protest, but here you see my friend James capture video of it actually in use, dispersing protests in New York City. That high-pitched sound you hear is a laser sound wave weapon used against protesters that makes people run away from certain locations. That the sound is so vicious. When it was being used against me, even when I closed my ears, even when I had earplugs in, the sound was penetrating my brain and hurting my brain. It's something that you have to run away from to escape. Again, my friend James shoots live videos of everything that happens during the Eric Garner protest here in New York City. Definitely follow him at JamesFT Internet. We also have a lot of coverage on our YouTube channel from all the protests that have been happening here. And of course, police also are firing tear gas at protesters in California. And of course, mainstream media violence breaks out in California. No. How about protesters react to police violence and for some reason decide to vandalize their community? I think that's more of a fair headline, but of course that doesn't get hits. Of course, the mainstream media is not interested in showing how protesters are reacting from violent police officers and how they use vandalism as a way to get their aggression out. I'm not saying either side is right or wrong in this situation. Two wrongs do not make a right. But a lot of times what I've seen from protests, from covering protests for over 12 years now, a lot of times the police instigate a situation, the protesters react. A lot of times that includes vandalism in the reaction. I'm not saying it's right in any way, shape, or form, but that's the situation that breaks down. And CNN, of course, is talking about violence breaking out at protests. No. How about you talk about the real issues? CNN also had another stupid, ridiculous headline today. What is a chokehold? They actually had a mixed martial arts instructor chokehold a CNN instructor. I can't say I didn't enjoy watching a CNN reporter getting choked, but they were doing a demonstration. This is their news. This is their investigative reporting team showing you what a chokehold is. They think you're idiots. They're not talking about the Stingray. They're not talking about the LRAD. They're not talking about the tear gas being used against the people, the war against the people being waged on by the police state. Now, of course, Obama and de Blasio, they're coming out and saying, you know, we'll placate you guys. We'll have body cameras. Now, you got to ask yourself, body cameras could be turned off by police officers, number one. Number two, we had full footage in HD what happened to Eric Garner, and that didn't change a damn situation. So they're trying to placate protesters. Meanwhile, police departments, with authorization of the federal authorities to spy and use these military-grade weapons against you, are waging a war against you, while idiots like this dominate the debate. Of course, this guy. Don't get me started on them. But again, with all this happening, let's put things in perspective. Let's connect the dots here. I've been covering the protests here every day in New York City. Don't forget to get more updates and photos about what's happening here on twitter.com/Luke WeAreChange. We're going to have more videos breaking down the situation on this YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe. You'll get news here that you won't get anywhere else. And that's only because we got our eyes and ears on the ground here with what actually is happening. Don't be divided and conquered. The war is against the people. Don't be divided and conquered and fall for their traps and their muddying of the waters. Meanwhile, the real war is being waged against anybody resisting the system. I hope you enjoyed this video. Click like if you did. Thank you so much for watching.